All right, Charlie, we about to be blessed.
Yeah. With a
We
good
about to get a word. A word
I already
wow.
know.
from a good brother.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, we have with us the co-owner and president of Reach Records, a 2-time Grammy Award winner, a 15-time Dove Award winner, a New York Times bestseller, the first hip-hop artist to win the Grammy for Best Gospel Album for his album Gravity, and the first rapper to win a BET Awards Best Gospel Album. And he needs no other further introduction. Please welcome Lecrae.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. All of that.
Do you ever get tired of hearing your receipts run through like that?
Hey, listen, my greatest accomplishment is being married to a Black woman and raising a Black daughter. I'm good.
I love it. I love
That's
it. And we love hearing you talk about your personal life and being a husband and a father so beautifully. Let me just also add that, like you said, to your receipts, because you're so proud of that and we can tell.
No, I appreciate it. Yeah, it's an honor. I'm honored.
So, Lecrae, we, at Yes Girl, we don't tend to boast, but a little birdie sent us a preview of your new book, which is coming out in the fall. It's called I Am Restored, How I Lost My Religion, But I Found My Faith.
Love it.
And, I've been flipping through it, but I really stopped on the chapter where I believe it's called Opening the Closet. And for me, what really stood out is I think about that quote that a lot of people say all the time: I can do all things through Christ who strengthened me. Now, I'll be honest, I don't know my Bible like I should, but I do. But shout out to Ashley Hobbs, our amazing producer. She read me the scripture, and I know Paul says it. But what stuck for me in this chapter of the book is that you said people tend to want to have a Pauline type faith, but they should really have a Christ-centered faith. Can you talk to me? Can you talk to us about that? What you meant by that?
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of us, we grow up in church culture, and historically it's very strict. It's very there are these figures in our lives that were saying, you gotta muscle up and just gridiron type of faith. And I think when we look at Paul, we see Paul, being shipwrecked and just traveling and being in prison, and we can tend to want to walk in those footsteps, but then we develop this self-righteousness, like, well, look what I'm doing. Well, you see, look what I know and look what I've been through. Whereas, Christ went through pain as well. I mean, he's God in the flesh, but he never came with the self-righteous attitude. He ate with the people they said he shouldn't have eaten with. He hung with the people they say he shouldn't have hung with. And if anybody had the right to throw a stone, it was him, and he never threw a single stone. And I think that's the countenance and the way we should carry ourselves as followers of God.
No, I really love that. And also with this chapter, you talked about your time in Egypt, which I thought was really interesting, that you went there as a, sort of in a way to mend your marriage or to restore.
Reconnect.
Restore.
Yeah. See what I did.
Yeah.
Restore your marriage. But as you were going around to all these historic biblical places or faith-centered places, your own faith was being restored because you were on the brink of, walking away. Can you talk about that? So let's get into, like, what does restoration mean to you?
Yeah, I think so. I grew up around church. I didn't grow up in church. So, for all intents and purposes, I didn't believe in God. And when I kind of walked through life, I had to confront this reality of if I think I have worth and value and purpose, then I've that came from somewhere. If I'm just a bunch of atoms and cosmic material, then I can't have purpose because I'm just a product of chance. So if I believe I have purpose, it came from somewhere. So I had to investigate that. And when I went through my faith crisis, I tried to backtrack and say, I don't know if this whole God thing is real, because I don't like the way church folk is acting and so on and so forth. But then I couldn't deny that I felt like I had purpose and value, but where did it come from? So I had to say, okay, well, you know, I'm wrestling, I'm stuck here. And there's a lot of great, of course we were dealing with a racial crisis in America, and I just did not like what I was seeing. And I'm like, God, where are you at in all this stuff that's going on? So it started me on a little bit of a faith crisis. And, just being honest, if I don't have any guardrails, if I don't feel like God is real, then I'm like, well, shoot, I can do whatever I want to do, because ain't no right, ain't no wrong. And that kind of took me off the path, where I was just out there, just, whatever happens, happens. And obviously that's not healthy for a marriage. If I'm out in the streets getting into fights and, dealing with flirtatious women and whatnot, it's kind of like, oh, being flirtatious myself, I'm not going to blame it on the women. You know what I'm saying? So that was not healthy for my soul nor my marriage. It wasn't me respecting the gifts that I had been given. And so I said, all right, this is my last ditch effort before I just go off the deep end. Babe, we're going to Egypt because I'm in a bad shape. And she was like, you absolutely right. We're going to Egypt because you are in bad shape. So that was restorative, because it gave us time alone, time to focus on each other, and time to grow and process, and not have a lot of the racial issues that were going on in America thrown in our face. And also just to see the history. We got this rich history that God has done so much stuff throughout time. Sometimes I think we look so narrow. We look at what's happening in our day and time, and we don't realize there's a long history that he's been consistent in working through. So that was so helpful and healing for us, and it brought us closer together and closer to God.
I love how much you credit your marriage and your family with being part of your restoration. Because, I think people talk a lot about coming back from a dark place or a deep place being a personal journey. And it is, but our network, right? Our circle of trust and our community is very much a part of that. And I think you've been very open about them being part, your wife and your kids being part of the restoration for you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think what a lot of people don't realize is that your close friends, your family, they're all affected by your dysfunction. So when you're doing bad, it affects more than just you. And in the same sense, they're all affected by your health. They're all affected by your growth. And so a healthy you creates a healthy them, because you're now responding to them out of your health. I was talking to my mother the other day, and, she was a single Black mom doing the best she could, trying to work out all the details and navigating everything in life. And she said, sometimes I was just so stressed out, I would fly off the handle, and sometimes the back of my hand may have met the front of your face, and I was like, yeah. She said, but that was the result of a lot of trauma that I had experienced. And so because I'm not healthy, I'm giving my son my dysfunction. And she says, as I grew and as I matured and as I went to counseling and therapy, I became a healthier person. And then you got the benefit of that. And so I think it's the same pattern, is that when we're dysfunctional, that affects everybody else around us. And when we're healthy and when we're dealing with restoration, it has the reverse effect. It heals everyone around us. They say hurt people, will heal people, heal people.
So true.
So my next question is sort of twofold. How did this restoration that you've been going through impact you now as we're in a pandemic? You're spending more time at home. You're now out connecting with the people. And then also, how did it impact you working on this new album, which I got to say, The Deep End is my favorite song.
Hey, thank you.
I love it. I love The Deep End.
Appreciate that. 2020 has had its fair share of challenges for all of us. I don't think it's a matter of, us, can we change the situation we're in? I think it's a matter of, can we be changed in the situation that we're in? And that's where we have to, come to a reality. I think first, I panicked like everybody else did. Oh my God, what does this mean? What am I going to do? I'm freaking out. I'm wrapping myself in saran wrap and wondering about my stocks and bonds. That's kind of phase one. But then phase two was, this like, well, I'm going to be better at the end of this and I'm going to just grit and grind my way through it. And, I'm going to do 50 push-ups and read all these books. And maybe the goal of it is not to be busier. Maybe the goal of it is to take time, to take self-inventory, to look around you, to pause, to stop, to reflect. And that's where I really began to grow and where I really began to create good music and began to process and really be a better version of myself, because I stopped moving at the speed of light, calmed down, was able to take more inventory, was able to see what's going on around me and connect better. And I think that helped me write music, that helped me get more involved in my community, connect better with my family. And I think in that regard, it's been good. I can't change what's going on out here, but I can be changed in the midst of it all. So, and that's kind of been my goal, is how can I grow? I'm not trying to be super busy, but I am trying to be intentional.
You once said that people think God is transactional, but the relationship is relational. And more so in that it's not about him giving you what you ask for and you getting it, as much as he wants to journey with you.
Yeah.
And that really stuck with me. Do you feel like that has been your story since discovering that, and how your motto toward your career and where
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think we're so used to transactional relationships. We're just used to that. That's how we navigate life a lot of times. And our food is cold, put in the microwave, bam, transaction happens. And I think that's what we expect from God. And I wish I would be a transactional husband. You know what I mean? I wish I would. My wife would be like, you've lost your mind. If I just knock on the door, hey, baby, I bought you some flowers. That's what I'm supposed to do.
Right.
I'm sleeping on the couch.
Yep.
So she wants relational. She wants, you know what? I thought of you and I thought of how much you sacrifice and how amazing you are. And I thought I need to celebrate you. So I bought you these flowers to celebrate you today. Now that's relational. It may not have changed what she's going through today, but it was a seed sown in the process of her going through stuff and getting better. And that's really what God does. God doesn't just snap his fingers and say, oh, you stressed out, you got some physical ailments or illnesses, I'm gonna snap my fingers and make it go away. No, he wants you to know, I'm gonna walk with you through this. I'm gonna be here, I'm gonna hold your hand. I'm reminded of a scripture where there's a man who's paralyzed and he's been laying by this pool, and they dip themselves in the pool to get healed. And the Bible says every so often, an angel appears and the water heals the person who gets in there. Well, he's paralyzed and he's like, I've been waiting here 38 years trying to get somebody to roll me into this water. And Jesus comes over and says, do you want to be well? And he's like, yes. He says, well, get up and walk. Now we read that and think, man, look at Jesus, just snuck in there and the blink of an eye healed this man. That man was there for 38 years. And so sometimes we go through that process before we have the breakthrough, so that we can appreciate what's happened for us and through us and to us. And sometimes God won't get you out, like my grandma said, but he'll get you through. So, yeah.
It's funny you mentioned that anecdote, because I'm going to tie it to another queen right now that we're all loving, Beyonce.
Yeah.
But yeah. When Beyonce, I believe, did a speech to college graduates or high school graduates. And there was a part of the speech that really stuck with me, because she says, yes, I'm a Grammy Award winner. I've won 28 Grammys, but I lost 47 times. And it was in her losing that she didn't really find herself, but there were lessons there. There was growth there. Because it's kind of like what you're saying, like you are talking about that win, but what about all the huffing and the exercising and the getting through and the falling down that you had to get through that makes that win so much better.
So much better. There's no triumph without trial. Funny Beyonce story. I was in New Zealand, and it ties into what you're saying. I was in New Zealand. There's this 600-foot tower, and they say, hey, people base jump off of this. They jump off of this with like a little simulation parachute. And I'm thinking to myself, man, that is crazy. And we had a little bet. They said, I bet you won't do it. I said, I'll do it. I don't care. You know, I was joking. And I was like, I'll do it. I don't care. But then I'm like, I don't know if I can do this. You know, this is kind of scary. And I get inside and they have a video playing of Beyonce jumping off of it. So I said, oh, well, if the queen can do it, I can do it. Stupid logic, because she can do tons of things I can't do. So, you know, I don't know where that logic came into play. But I get to the top and I'm like, I'm not going to be able to do this. This is too crazy. I don't think I can do this. And they said, okay, well, can you step aside real quick and let this 11-year-old girl jump? So this 11-year-old girl jumps off the tower and I'm like, oh my gosh, I have got to do this. But it's standing on the edge. As I'm standing on the edge of that, it was like a metaphor for me of standing on the edge of something new and standing on the edge of change and progress. And you've got to face everything that you've gone through. And, you know, I talk about that in my book, is facing everything in your closet. And you've got to face that and take that leap. And, you know, that's a part of the journey. You can't get to the new place that you've got to get to if you don't ascend to those heights, if you don't climb those steps, if you don't face those fears, and if you don't confront them and become the new version of yourself.
So what has community and friendship meant to you as you navigated being a public figure? Because we know fame is not easy.
Oh my gosh. You know what?
And you talk about that a lot in your book, wanting to just, fame is what really hurt your spirit.
Yeah. It cripples you. On one end of the spectrum, and this is so sad and unfortunate, especially for like a lot of our young Black kids, we struggle so much with identity and value and worth, you know, living in this world where, you know, we don't see a Black version of Steve Jobs or Zuckerberg or, you know, Bill Gates, right? We just have, everyone is famous, you know, in the Black community. And so we associate fame with worth so often instead of, you know, our contributions. And praise God, we've now got different figures, you know, who have contributed in different ways, Michelle Obama's and different people in different realms who are not necessarily famous for performing. They've been made famous for their other contributions. But that trauma of not being seen, of not being known, appreciated, you know, me talking about being abused and my father not being present created this hunger that said, well, if I perform, they'll love me. If I perform, they'll love me. And you get into that performance trap of feeling like this is the love that, you know, I've been missing. And it's not really love. You know, what fans give you, some of it is genuine, but a lot of times you're being objectified. You know, they don't love all of the dynamics of who you are. They love what they can get out of you. And so the way a man objectifies a woman is he says, I just want the physical intimacy. I don't want the whole dynamic of your personality and your likes, your dislikes, your wants, your dreams, your goals, your favorite colors. I don't want all that. I just want the physical intimacy. That's all I need. And in the same way, that's how they treat public figures. They say, shut up and dribble, LeBron. We don't want none of your political opinions. We don't want nothing you got to say about race or none of that. Just do this. And so that was difficult for me, just being in that performance trap. And I had to find myself. You're on so much, you forget who the real you is. So my close friends have become key because they were there to remind me who I was when the lights were off, when the cameras were off. And that was very helpful and transformative for me.
Okay. Can you talk to a little bit about, you know, right now, you know, you also talk in the book how a lot of restoration came for you because so many people were dying. You know, there were the people, you know, we didn't know, but who are like family, like the Mike Browns and Freddie Grays, you know, and now George Floyd of the world. You had your own personal loss. And we're all now, this race is now, is the tentpole conversation we're all having, but we're also learning in real time. And you've had to learn in real time. How do you want to respond to things? How do you manage that, having to kind of learn on the spot and share, and then the fear of when you're learning that if there's a slip up, then you're being canceled.
Yeah.
But it's man. Oh, you're like, bro, I'm over here doing all this work. I'm over here trying to learn, but you just, you know, just like that.
I think we should fight for accountability culture and not cancel culture. I think it's great to keep people.
Say that again.
I think we should fight for accountability culture and not cancel culture. I think it's wise to hold people accountable, to hold their feet to the fire, to grow, to check their perspectives, to do some more educating of themselves. But to cancel somebody says that there's no room for you to grow. There's no grace for you. There's no room for you to gain another vantage point and another perspective. And I mean, my mama should have canceled me a long time ago if that's the case, because man, I was a handful. But she didn't. She struggled, she strived, she worked with me, and look at the fruit of that, right? Look at the fruit of her challenging me to grow, to hold me accountable to certain standards. And I think that's a wiser move for us as a culture. I mean, I'm grateful for Black Twitter, because Black Twitter will hold your feet to the fire. And I survived the gauntlet, you know what I mean, of Black Twitter. And I'm grateful for it. Let's use our voices constructively, but we don't want to create a mob mentality where we kill valuable individuals and we mute them when they simply just needed to grow. And it's hard to grow in public. A lot of people don't understand that, like to gain insight, to gain wisdom, and people's perspectives change. Now, mind you, after you challenge them, after you hold their feet to the fire, if they remain consistent in not trying to hear nothing you got to say, then maybe it's time to say, all right, I'm not going. Terry Crews, I'm gonna just not pay attention right now, brother, because I don't know what you want. You know what I'm saying? Wow. But we need each other. We need to uplift each other.
I have to say, though, and I mean, this is definitely my personal opinion on that, but when I think about people using Twitter as a means, right, to call people all out, particularly entertainers, celebrities, you don't know someone's emotional mind state, right? And where they're at that moment. And I think what's been scary to watch is, and we're seeing it play out with lots of people, from Tamar to different people, we never really know how people are feeling. Yes. And how stable they are. And, as we were mentioning earlier with COVID and the pandemic and this new world, a lot of us are going through a lot of things.
Yes.
And it may not be the day to tell someone they were wrong or you believe they are wrong or here's the fact they missed, even if you're right. And I'm wondering how, as a community, this is just my thoughts, you didn't ask for this, but as a community, how we reconcile that, because you're right. It's a great thing to do, but I'm glad mental health is in the forefront of the conversation.
That's true. No, I agree with you. I'll just, prayers to Azalea Banks. I saw her post the other day, and I agree with you. I think, I went through that where you don't even recognize how social media is affecting your mental health. I have tons of therapy sessions where my therapist is like, if you don't stay off of social media, don't nobody on there love you. You know what I mean? And so it's like, that's good. That's good. I need to, and you're right. I don't think it's a healthy medium, for people to make snap judgments. I'll be honest with you. I do not respond well to visceral comments about something that I may have dropped the ball on. Right. I respond well to people who take the time to correct me gently. I mean, even the Bible tells you to correct people gently. Mm-hmm. And so, there was an author, a phenomenal author, Austin Channing Brown, who, challenged my perspective and said, hey, when you're having these conversations about race around white people, always center yourself around those who are at risk the most. So when you're having this conversation, think about the Black folks in the room who are at risk and make sure you talk as if they're sitting there and that they can hear your voice. Don't center yourselves around the people who have the least to lose and try to placate and it's okay if you say it this way or whatever. Always consider those who are suffering. She came at me so gently and so lovingly. It wasn't like a pat on the back, but it was firm, but it was gentle. And I could tell she wanted me to grow. She didn't just want to slap me. And I think that's a healthier way for people to grow. But more than anything, I would tell folks, have some friends in your life to tell you, because they ain't going nowhere. They ain't going nowhere. They're going to tell you about yourself, and they're going to be right there to help you walk through it.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love when I'm being, and forgive my language, being a biatch, and and I go back to my friends and I was like, I'm sorry guys, I was just having a day. And they're like, we know, Corey, we got you.
Right.
We know you were, and you just move on because they know you, but they also allow you to have a moment.
Exactly.
Whether it's good or bad. And it's the same way, when they do it, so I appreciate that.
I needed all the more because I think there is a perception of, a Christian that, there's just certain rules. And I'm like, listen, I'm not here for y'all's approval. You know what I mean? And I need y'all to know I'm a human being. I love God. But yes, that was me at Howard Homecoming about to fight somebody because I was tripping that day. You know what I'm saying? And I need you to know that, and I'm growing. I'm a work in progress. It's not an excuse. It is, the truth, honesty. So, yeah.
I want to tiptoe right back into this album because I've got to know on Set Me Free. Can we talk about the Shackles on My Feet sample and why that sample still resonates today?
Man, I love it. Shout out to Erica and Tina Campbell, my sisters, who are phenomenal. Big sisters who always show me so much love. I think when we listen to the radio today, there's a lot of references to like early 2000s or 90s R&B. Yeah. And I thought, it's like, I'm gonna throw it back to Mary Mary. You know what I mean? Like this was a smash that we all connected with and resonate with. And right now in 2020, we still got these shackles on us emotionally, racially, even spiritually. And we're not gonna take it. We're gonna be set free from this stuff, and I think that's the mindset that we have right now. And so I just wanted to channel that Black woman energy and put it out there, that Mary spiritual power, and ride that wave one time.
Well, speaking of power, you and John Legend on Drown.
Oh yeah.
He's one of my favorite artists as well. What was that collaboration like in that moment? John
is I said this before, but John is, I love John. He's a nerd. John is a nerd. Okay.
He is. And I'm glad you acknowledged that.
Yeah. But he's a brilliant mind.
But we love smart dudes. We love smart dudes. We need him. We need him.
Listen, he's brilliant and he's very thoughtful. And so even as he approached the music, he approached it from a thoughtful perspective. And, very technical and for me, probably with anybody else, I appreciate the technicality, but when it's John, I'm like, all right, brother, go ahead, let's do 20 more takes then, if that's what you need to do. You know what I mean? So he's very particular, but he was humble at the same time. So, John could have easily been like, man, I got a Grammy, a Tony, an Emmy, an Oscar. I don't know if I have time to I'll see what I can do. But he was like, man, I'd love to do this song. Song is amazing. Let's work on it, and just spent some time processing through it. And he took critique. I was like, man, John, what if we, and he's like, okay, not a problem. Man, this dude is great. So, it was phenomenal, and he's a phenomenal guy.
You both work with that passion, right? That you put it all on the track.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh man, yeah. He hit some notes. He hit them notes. I was like, okay, John. Okay, bring it back, John. So yeah, I was excited. It was fun, man. It was fun, and it's exciting to see people's response to it as well.
And before we leave you, how long have you been working on this album? Like, how long has it been in the works? I mean, is this something is this a COVID album or is this something that was done before?
Deep End is a COVID song for sure. I mean, that was like, George Floyd died and I got the pen to the pad, I was like, I can't, I gotta, there's some stuff I gotta say. And so, you know, that was a moment for me. You know, I'm gonna go ahead and let the cat out the bag. Look for the remix with my homegirl Rhapsody in the future. So just stay tuned.
Okay.
Yeah.
Who's taking the hook on that?
It's actually a sample. So one of my friends, he went in, Ace Harris went in the studio, created a sample, and then and just like did his magic to make it happen. So, but the album was definitely, the reason why it's called Restoration is because I wrote it as I was going through a process of restoration. So it took about 2 years, you know, to really create this project. It was just authentic. It's raw. It takes you through my journey. It takes you from, you know, me saying I'm in bad shape and I need to be set free. You know, I got a song on there, Saturday Night, where I'm like, you know, it's Saturday night. I'm out at a party. I'm in LA, and I'm thinking to myself, well, what are we doing? Like, what is it? What are we chasing here? And just having those moments. And then Sunday morning where I'm like, you know what? I'm getting my life. You know what I mean? I am not finna get on this hamster wheel any longer. And Kirk Franklin is on there and he says some amazing things. And then, you know, you end with Nothing Left to Hide, which is what the book obviously talks about. It's just that when you tell on yourself, nobody can tell you anything. You know, you don't have anything you can hold over my head. I'm totally free. I told on myself, and I'm free from your scrutiny and from it all, you know. And so that's restoration in a nutshell.
Well, and speaking of your journey, and you know, to close, you've obviously learned a lot of lessons, had a lot of wins. What has been your biggest triumph so far?
Ooh.
And I know that's a tough question.
Ooh, my biggest triumph. You know what? I'll be honest with you. My biggest triumph is being consistent at being present. When you are constantly, and you all know, you guys are incredible. You're busy. You do a lot of amazing things. You're on so much. You're going. To stop, to be present, to be in the moment, to listen to your daughter tell you all the intricacies of the slime that she has made, and to dive into now why did you use red? Wow. Okay. So now there's glitter, and you okay. Now that's okay. When you can, that has been my greatest accomplishment, is to, you know what? I don't care what the phone is talking about. I'm not worried about no charts today. It's my baby girl and this glitter and this slime. That is, I mean, man, people don't understand how big that is. That's the accomplishment of a lifetime. I never wanted to ride the train to success and look behind me and see my family run over on the tracks. And that's been phenomenal for me.
Of course, he ended with a good word, Corey.
Exactly. I was going to add an anecdote, but I wanted to just leave it hanging here because it's so beautiful. Thank you. I'll tell you in the back room. Okay. Thank you, Lecrae.
Thank you for your time.
Absolutely.
And stay safe.
Y'all too, man. God bless.